Give you all a minute. Thank you for coming here today for this important rally. My name is Angela McCalla. I am the Policy and Advocacy Program Director for the Women's Fund. I am also an elected official for the city of Newport. I am also a mother and one who stands in solidarity today to ensure that this rally is successful and to also stand in solidarity with our community. We are just also grateful for all the lawmakers who are here today to stand in solidarity with the Rhode Island Coalition of Gun Violence. Before I get started, I'd like to introduce Sydney, who is the president of the Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence.
Thank you, Angela, for that introduction. I am Sydney Monstream-Quas. I am the board chair of Rhode Island Coalition Against Gun Violence. We remain committed to addressing gun violence as an urgent public health crisis. Thank you, elected officials, community leaders, teachers, students, advocates, for being here today to support the passage of gun violence prevention bills. And to all the legislators behind me who are present today, we are grateful for your support and for your sponsorship of these life-saving bills. And I hope you all have heard that just today, we heard that the Speaker and Senate President are committed to passing meaningful gun reform legislation this session. We are united in our efforts to keep Rhode Islanders safe from gun violence. The past few weeks have been very raw. We are all mourning the brutal murders of communities of people, of loved ones, of children, and our hearts are broken. The unimaginable and senseless loss of so many lives in the community is unbearable. Futures have been erased instantly. There are really no words strong enough to describe how I feel, but I do know that I am angry that we have not passed more gun violence prevention bills here in Rhode Island. Too many of us here today have experienced gun violence in our families and in our communities. We must take action to prevent other families from experiencing the shattering loss and trauma that occurs when you lose a loved one to gun violence. We must take action to prevent the carnage of gun violence from terrorizing our families, our children, and our neighborhoods. We can no longer tolerate gun violence prevention bills being held for further study. When they are held for further study, they're being held for further violent trauma, held for further carnage, held for further murders, held for further suicides by gun,
You're right. No
held
more.
for further funerals.
That's it.
When our elected officials are willing to pass gun violence prevention bills, they will be declaring that enough is enough, that the carnage is unacceptable and must stop, and that the status quo is not tolerable.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
But today, I have hope to be here with so many legislators, including my senator, who is chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee and the lead sponsor of the High Capacity Magazine ban, is very hopeful. I hope that our elected leaders will use their power to assure that these bills get a vote now. It is time for a vote.
Yes.
We are continuously mourning for so many cherished people personal loss to gun violence. So please join me in a moment of silence as we grieve for and honor those people whose lives have been cut short due to gun violence. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sydney. So we're so grateful for all our lawmakers who are here today in solidarity with us. And as the session starts to head towards a close, we know how busy you all are, and we truly appreciate you being here to show that gun violence prevention is a top priority. Now more than ever, we need vocal champions willing to stand up for our rights to be safe from gun violence. We cannot we cannot end the legislative session without taking action on this crucial package of bills. And the number of legislators here with us today show what broad support these bills have. I'd like to ask all of our legislators and our elected officials present to gather around the podium as we hear from the following General Assembly leaders in this order. So Senate Judiciary Chair Cynthia Coyne, Senator Health and Human Services Chair Josh Miller, State Representative Justine Caldwell, State Representative Teresa Tanzi, State Representative Leonela Felix, and State Representative Karen Alzate on behalf of the Black and Latino Legislative Caucus. Senator Cynthia Coyne will first come up, please.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for coming out to this very important event today. I'm pleased to welcome our general officers, so many of my fellow legislators, and many dedicated advocates who are here today. Their presence is a reflection of how important this issue is. Last week, I was in Annapolis, Maryland to attend the United States Naval Academy Commissioning Week and graduation ceremonies, where my son and 1,100 classmates were preparing to be commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy or a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. On Tuesday, May 24th, as I was preparing to join my family and friends to watch the arrival of the Navy's Blue Angels, who were flying into Annapolis to honor the graduates, a gunman armed with an assault-type weapon entered Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, and over the next 78 minutes killed 19 students and 2 teachers. The contrast between my day, your day, and the tragedy in Uvalde is horrifically unexplainable and haunting. We will never know the many achievements that awaited those 19 children and 2 teachers, the contributions they would have made, the happiness and pride they would have brought to others, and the families that they had or might someday start. Instead, once again, parents, sons, daughters, and siblings are left to grieve. And to try to make sense of this unexplainable tragedy, it's mind-boggling. As a mom, the pain of those parents is just unimaginable. The contrast between the pride I felt last week and the achievements of my son and his classmates and the deaths of 19 children is more than tragic. It is devastating, and it requires a call to action, not to allow those deaths to be in vain. Now Uvalde joins a sad legacy with names like Columbine, Sandy Hook, and Parkland, among others. In the aftermath of yet another tragic school massacre, there are those that claim that no law can prevent such carnage, that because criminals don't follow the law, it is wrong to enact laws to try to lessen the likelihood of such tragedy from happening here. That is just unacceptable. It's just a plain cop-out. As government leaders, each of us has a responsibility to answer that call to action. It's about turning pain into action, as President Biden remarked several days ago. As a state senator, I've worked alongside many of you out here for gun reform through my time here in the Senate. Before I ran for office, I spent 20 years serving the Rhode Island State Police. That experience has been a driving force behind my work to promote public safety and advance gun reform here in the General Assembly. I know how dangerous the uncontrolled spread of firearms is for our communities, and like so many members of law enforcement, I support common sense steps to fight back. Rhode Island was one of the first states in the country to ban untraceable ghost guns and firearms made with 3D printers. We've enacted a red flag law to keep firearms out of the hands of people who pose a risk to themselves and to others.
Yeah!
And we have banned bump stocks to prevent weapons from being made more deadly through simple modifications.
No more magazine capacity!
We closed the dangerous straw purchasing loophole that allowed individuals to buy guns from someone else. And let us not forget, we passed Senator President Ruggiero's Harold M. Metz School Safety Act, which prohibits firearms on school grounds. But it is not enough.
That's right!
And we know that our work is not done yet. There are important measures currently before us at the State House here. I'm proud to sponsor the bill prohibiting high-capacity magazines, the ban on it. But for those in the military or law enforcement, there is no need for anyone to possess a high-capacity magazine. It's not designed to be used for hunting or sport. It is designed for only one purpose, and that's to kill another human being.
Many of them.
Majority Leader McCaffrey has proposed prohibiting the possession of loaded rifles or shotguns in public. What possible justification is there for someone to walk down the road with a loaded shotgun? Majority Whip Goodwin has proposed raising the gun buying age to 21. Does it make any sense that a young adult cannot purchase alcohol or tobacco until they are 21, but can still purchase a firearm at 18? No. Senator Sebeny has proposed increasing the penalty for failing to properly secure firearms. And Senator Miller, who you'll hear from shortly, has introduced a ban on assault weapons, which I'm also a co-sponsor. These are common sense bills. Make no mistake, of all the school shootings in our nation's history, there is a single common feature. The killer used a firearm. That is an issue we must address. As a mother of 4 children, a retired member of law enforcement, and as a responsible public official, I stand here with my colleagues in government and with all of you as a Rhode Islander to say the time for rhetoric has passed and the time to act is now. I know that our most important obligation as legislator is to do everything in our power to make our state safer. And as chair of Senate Judiciary, I promise you I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Senator Josh Miller. And I've been alone at a podium like this for many years, and I'm glad to be joined by so many. As a long-term sponsor of the assault weapon ban, I'm glad to be up here, and I'm optimistic to hear the commitment to passage. But as somebody who has been involved in legislation for over 15 years now, there are things we must be vigilant about when we consider these bills and see them brought to passage. They must be as effective as intended. And so therefore, I ask you to please consider and be vigilant and watch all of these bills as they move forward to make sure they are effective and as intended. You must watch every word, every number, every comma, whether it's
That's right. Gotta make sure it's not watered down.
whether it's the bill to limit, Senator Coyne's bill to limit capacity to 10 rounds. We must be vigilant about that.
10 rounds is it.
We must be vigilant, and we must watch every word, number, and comma on my bill and Rep. Caldwell's bill to regulate assault weapons. We must be vigilant and careful that the bill on safe storage not meet the fate that is met in past years, and that is as effective and intended as the sponsors have brought it forward. As Chair of Health and Human Services, the safe storage is a priority of mine because of the suicide that unintended access to guns can result in. And raising the age to 21, in the past 2 weeks, we've seen two 18-year-olds implement carnage on children throughout America. We cannot have that happen here. So I'm glad to see so much support, and I want you to keep your eyes open for maintaining the effectiveness as sponsors, and all of you who have worked on this legislation have attended. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Miller. I'm Representative Justine Caldwell. I am the sponsor in the House of our bills to regulate assault weapons, to limit high-capacity magazines, and to mandate the secure storage of firearms. I got involved in this fight. Involved in this fight for gun violence prevention when Sandy Hook happened. When Sandy Hook happened, I was on a cruise with my family around Christmas with my 9-year-old son. We were all sitting outside by the pool, and they made a loudspeaker announcement over the cruise deck saying there had just been a horrific shooting at an elementary school in Connecticut and all those children had been killed. And I looked down at my son Escher, who was 9 months old at the time, and I said, well, thank God Escher is only 9 months old, because by the time he goes to school, this sort of thing will never happen again. We will have done something to prevent these kinds of tragedies. I'll fast forward to last Tuesday night, when my husband and I had a disagreement about whether or not we should tell a 10-year-old Escher, who was in the 4th grade, the same age and the same grade as those little kids in Texas who died alone, scared, and without their mother's arms around them, a brutal death so terrible they couldn't even be identified. If we should tell him what had happened. My husband thought we should, and I thought we shouldn't, because if he didn't hear about it, we shouldn't worry him on the way to school. As it turns out, to any parent of a 10-year-old boy, you know he's been following the NBA playoffs pretty closely. And he was Googling the sports stats that morning, and a pop-up came up Wednesday morning before we left for school about the shooting in Texas. And he said to me, did somebody go inside and shoot 4th graders inside an elementary school in Texas? And I sent my husband outside with my 7-year-old daughter, and I sat Escher down and I said, yes, they did. And he said to me, but my classroom is on the 2nd floor, so I couldn't jump and I couldn't get out. And tears sprung to my eyes, and those of you who know me know it is a rare moment for me to be speechless, but I was, and I didn't know what to say. So I looked Escher in the eye, and I told him a lie. I told him, but you don't have to worry, because you are safe at school. In Rhode Island, we can make kids like Escher safer at school. We can pass, like Senator Miller said, all 5 of the bills in our gun safety package. Chairwoman Coyne mentioned, the Speaker and the Senate President put out a statement today talking about their commitment to municipal gun reform. And I have known Joe Shikarchi for a long time, and that man would give you the shirt off his back if he thought somebody needed it. And I know that when we talk to him, we reach out and we tell him our personal stories, that he will be there with us as well. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Tansey. I'm a state representative from Narragansett and South Kingstown. I've been in this building for 12 years. The bill that I'm sponsoring would raise the age from 18 to 21 to purchase long guns, which would bring the age to 21 for all guns to be purchased. When 21 for handguns was passed in Rhode Island, there was no mass market for these assault-style weapons. There was no one purchasing these for recreational use. These were not under consideration when this law was originally passed. It's time to close this loophole and keep the guns out of the hands of those under 21. There's no smoking, there's no gambling, there's no recreational cannabis, there's no rental cars, there's no drinking if you're under 21. Why would we allow someone under 21 to have access to a powerful weapon of war? We've long acknowledged the adolescent brain with its underdeveloped prefrontal cortex and its overactive amygdala is not responsive to understanding long-term consequences the way an adult brain is. It's time for us to act. It's time for us to no longer be able to say time and time again that the authorities said the gunman was able to obtain the weapons legally. This was in the New York Times this weekend. Look at all the times that it's been stated that the gunman was able to obtain these weapons legally. We need to act now. We have things that we can do to change that, and we must act now. Thank you.
I'm too short, so I'm going to bring this down. Hi, everyone. I am Representative Leonela Felix. I represent District 61 in Pawtucket, and I am the proud sponsor of the open carry legislation. So I don't know what else we can say standing up here and repeat the same talking points. What else do we need to say to make this happen? Not tomorrow, not the next day, when? Immediately. What do we need to do to convince leadership and everyone that this needs to happen? No one should be able to carry a weapon openly in public. What is the purpose other than to intimidate? What is the purpose other than to incite fear and violence? There is no legitimate purpose. And I am tired of seeing the news stories of community members being massacred by kids, 18-year-olds, buying weapons. Why? Again, like Rep. Tansey said, you can't buy alcohol at 21, at 18. So why can't you buy a weapon? It's outrageous that we need to stand here once again to do this. And I really hope that enough is enough and that not one more person will die at the hands of gun violence. I'm really hopeful that this is the year that we make that happen. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Representative Karen Axate from District 60 in Pawtucket and Central Falls. I'm also the chair of the Black Latino Caucus. Last week, I met with some of you, and I'm still mad. If you are not still mad, you are not paying attention. When is enough enough? When are we going to decide that mass shootings are not part of the fabric of our nation. The time to pass common sense gun legislation is now. I am confident that my colleagues feel the same way and are ready to work together to pass the package of bills that they've all introduced. Working together, it is the only way for us to put our state first, to really invest in our communities when it comes to addressing the issue of gun violence. Our nation is hurting from the past 2 weeks. And those are the only two that have been in the news. We know that there's been more. It is not normal to continue to live like mass shootings are a norm in this society and in this country. We are better than this. We are stronger than this. And together, we will pass common sense gun legislation. Thank you.
Let's have one more round of applause for our legislators. Next, we will hear from union leaders who will introduce our general officers. Would our union leaders please gather at the podium? We're looking for Larry Pirtle, President of the National Education Association of Rhode Island, and Patrick Crawley from the Rhode Island AFL-CIO.
I'm Larry Pirtle, President of NEA Rhode Island. On behalf of Rhode Island's thousands of teachers, I want to tell you, enough is enough. Every parent, the tens of thousands in Rhode Island, and millions across this country, has a right to put their child on the bus in the morning or drop them off at the school door and expect they will return later that afternoon. That is a basic right that every parent has. No parent should ever have to identify their child by DNA because their tiny bodies are unrecognizable. No parent should ever listen to the last words spoken by their child on the release of a 911 call. No parent should ever hear that their child had to smear blood on them from a dead classmate to play dead to avoid being shot and killed. It is way past time for gun safety laws to be passed in Rhode Island and across this country. It's not about gun control, it is about gun safety. The founding fathers, I'm pretty sure, did not attend a well-regulated militia to mean an 18-year-old could buy an AR-15 on credit and use it to kill school children. The next shooter is already planning his attack. Not another hour can be wasted. How many more times does it have to happen before we act? And yes, mental health is a major contributor, and so much more needs to be done, and it is only getting worse. But every other nation has mental health issues as well, and they don't have, what they don't have is mass murder by guns. When faced with a mass shooting, they pass gun safety laws to almost eliminate mass killings in their countries. Canada is passing new gun laws based on what happened in the United States. They know we are not arming teachers. Think not only how dangerous that is, but how stupid it is as well. Our military and police are trained and outfitted with tactical gear, yet Mrs. Robinson, the kindergarten teacher in room 101, is going to be trained to stop a killer outfitted for war? No. And what happens when a substitute comes in? They stop by the office, pick up room keys, lesson plans, and a gun? Let's stop with the idiotic ideas and pass what works. The bills before this General Assembly regulating assault weapons, limiting magazine capacity, raising the age to buy a gun to 21, and safe storage is needed immediately. And let's not make schools fortresses where students feel more like they are in prison than a place to learn and to socialize with their classmates.
Yes.
Please, 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 let children be children and be able to do it safely. The overwhelming majority of Rhode Islanders and people across this country support these measures, yet the majority are being held hostage by a small minority. Some want to ban books and curriculum that teaches history in our schools, yet books and history lessons never killed a student. Listen, the time is now to ban what does kill students. We need to stop with the politicians who are more concerned with filling their coffers to get elected than the safety of our citizens, especially our children. That's why I want to thank our general officers, the legislators here, those who have put in legislation, and the leadership to lead us and to take a stand and do what's right. Rhode Islanders and all Americans should be able to go shopping without the fear of being killed, to go to their house of worship without fear, and every parent that drops their child off at school in the morning or puts them on a bus has the right to expect them to return safely that afternoon. The time to act is today. Tomorrow, next week, next month may be too late. Our children deserve nothing less from us.
Thank you, Larry. My name is Patrick Crowley, and I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO. And brothers and sisters, let me share with you some news. When a teacher gets killed at a school building, when they're going to work, that makes it a union issue. When food service workers get gunned down in the supermarkets when they work, that makes this a union issue. When working class moms and dads have to worry up at night wondering what's going to happen when they send their kids to school the next day, that makes gun violence a working person's issue, which makes it a union issue. And that's why, on behalf of the entire Rhode Island labor movement, we stand shoulder to shoulder with all of you today, calling for meaningful gun legislation to pass now. Not next week, not after the next election, not next year. Let's pass it now. You know, a key principle of the labor movement is the idea that you should be able to get up, go to work, and come home safely. And gun violence is making that next to impossible. Gun violence is killing too many working people who all they wanted to do was earn a day's wage and pay for their kids. You know what? That makes gun violence at the workplace a union issue. And that's why the labor movement, is here today. You know, you may have heard it, but we have this expression in the labor movement. We always say, an injury to one is an injury to all. That's why, on behalf of all of the men and women that you see standing here behind me today, we stand in solidarity with all of you, with the people of Uvalde, of Buffalo, and we stand with working people anywhere that they are gunned down by senseless violence. It's time to act. This is a union issue, and we demand action right now. My sisters and brothers who stand behind me collectively represent 80,000 union members across the state of Rhode Island. They don't represent 80,000 gun targets. It's time to put a stop to this. It's time to make sure that we have meaningful gun legislation right now. Not next week, not after the next election, not next year, but right now. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, someone who's long been an advocate for gun legislation, meaningful, common sense gun legislation. Someone who, I hope, very soon, I'm going to see a pen in his hand and signing into law meaningful gun legislation. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, allow me to introduce the governor of the state of Rhode Island, Governor Dan McKee.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you. I had regular lunches with the Senate President and the Speaker talking about the most important things that face the state of Rhode Island. And I've asked recently, what can I do to help get those bills to my desk, both of the Senate President and the Speaker? And they said, well, speak out. That's why I'm here today. I'm speaking out. It's been 1 week since that deadly shooting in Texas that left 19 children and 2 adults dead. What we know is that things need to change now. Just a couple hours ago, I did meet in the state room, brought in union leaders, teacher leaders, superintendents, associations, the commissioner of public safety, all to announce that we will continue to do our part to collaborate between the officials in the state to keep our schools safe. Now we want the General Assembly to do their part so that I can do my part and sign those bills immediately. We can't imagine a mass shooting in our schools here in Rhode Island. It takes our breath away even to think about it. But we know what we can do to prevent it. Passing common sense gun legislation is part of the solution. And as elected officials, both here in Rhode Island and our federal officials in D.C., it's up to us. It's up to us to act, to do all we can to end gun violence. It's time, and I'm proud to stand here with all the General Assembly members who know it's been time for a long time to act. It is time to limit high-capacity magazines. It is time to ban assault weapons. And it's time to raise the age to 21. Send those bills to my desk. I will sign those bills proudly. And we will continue to work diligently to keep people safe in the state of Rhode Island, in particular those people that mean the most to us, which are our sons and daughters, our granddaughters, and our grandsons. I want to thank each and every lawmaker that's here today. Every lawmaker that has spoken out over the years to bring us to this point in time where we're ready to act. Every advocacy group, every concerned Rhode Islander for being here today and doing your part in making Rhode Island a safer place for all of us. And when we act here in Rhode Island, we do our part to make our nation a safer place for those who live in our country. And with that, I'll turn it over to our Lieutenant Governor, Sabina Matos. Please, Sabina, come on up. Thank you so much for your leadership as well. Thank you for having me here today. Send the bills to my desk. I'll give out some pens.
Thank you, Governor. And thank you for being ready to sign those bills. I want to say that unequivocally, There is no place in our society in which assault weapons and high-capacity magazines are allowed. We should allow to have them. No places of worship, no recreation locations, no places of learning, no playgrounds, no school zones. We shouldn't have those weapons in our churches and our supermarkets. Those are weapons created for the battlefield. Those are weapons of war, and that's where they belong. We don't need those in our society, and we have to do everything we can to prevent a situation like Uvalde, Texas, from ever happening here in the state of Rhode Island. The data shows that the regulations work. According to the research from the Boston University, states with restrictions on high-capacity magazines experience mass shooting at a less than half the rate of those without restrictions. The research also states that high-capacity magazines ban is the single best predictor of mass shootings rates in a state. Currently, Rhode Island is an outlier in our region. Massachusetts, Connecticut already have a ban on assault weapons and on high-capacity magazines in place. I want to commend the work of the advocacy community. I want to commend the work of Senator Goodwin, Coy, Miller, Savini, and Representative Colwood, Felix, and Tansey. I want to thank them for the work they've been doing, advocating with their colleagues here in the House of Representatives and the Senate to make sure that these bills get a hearing and that we finally can get those bills to the governor's desk to be signed. We are ready to act. We're ready to sign those bills. The governor's going to sign those bills. We just need to send it to him. Thank you. With that, I'm going to introduce Secretary of State Nellie Gorbea.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Matos. It is time. Basta ya. Listen to your moms, listen to the people, and get these bills passed. Not tomorrow, now. As a mother myself, Senator DeMario's words reminded me of my own experience with this topic, where I remember the Connecticut shootings. I remember trying to shield my kids. I can't do that anymore. I need to be able to look at them in the eye and say, the work that your grown-ups are doing, the work that your elected leaders are doing is going to take care of you. Yeah. And we need to pass these gun safety rules now. I want to thank the leaders in the General Assembly who have been there through thick and thin when there were fewer crowds. I want to thank Attorney General Peter Nerona, who introduced the bills in this cycle and who invited the rest of us to do this work now. You have labor, you've got people, you've got elected leaders. Let's just get it done. Basta ya. Thank you.
I'd like to now introduce Attorney General Peter Nerona.
All right, everybody, we have traveled far on this road, but there is road left to travel. If we get this legislation passed, we will have the same kind of results that we have had in the past. When the General Assembly passed and the governor signed the red flag bill, we put that to work and we're keeping Rhode Islanders safer. When we passed the straw purchasing legislation last year and the governor signed it, we made Rhode Islanders safer. When the General Assembly passed the ghost gun legislation and the governor signed it, we made Rhode Islanders safer. And when we're asked, use the existing laws, I say this. We're using them. We have charged 77 ghost gun cases since that legislation was passed. If you want to know whether we are using the existing gun laws, it's not hard to find where we're using them. come to Providence County Superior Court, go to Courtroom 9, go to the gun calendar. You will see our prosecutors every day fighting to keep Rhode Islanders safer using these and other existing gun laws. But there is road left to travel, and I support every one of these bills. They will make Rhode Islanders safer. Imagine this. Imagine that you're at the 4th of July parade in Bristol, and you see 3 people standing across from you on the other side of the parade route with rifles, loaded rifles. Does that make you feel safer? No. Does that make you safer? No. But that's the way the law is right now. Let's change it. You know, when I was a young prosecutor, most police officers had shotguns in the trunks of their vehicles. Today, many police departments have AR-15s in the trunks of their vehicles. There's one department, that's all they have in the trunk of their vehicle are AR-15s. Every single officer on that department has an AR-15 in the trunk of their vehicle. Why is that? It's because they don't want to be outgunned. When we're asking our police officers to keep us safe, I want them to have the advantage, not the other way around. I want the bad guys to have the pea shooters, not the police. If we back the blue, back the bills. If we back the blue, back the bills. High-capacity magazines are not a theoretical problem in the state of Rhode Island. When we were asked last year to provide more data by the General Assembly, we did just that and more. And what did we find? In just 4 months, September to December of last year, 38 cases involving high-capacity magazines between 16 rounds and others over 30. 38 instances of that situation happening. The notorious shootout on Carolina Street in Providence. When police went into that apartment, they found a 30-round magazine, a 40-round magazine, a 50-round magazine, and a 60-round magazine. When those magazines are legal, are we more or less safe? Yes. If we back the blues, back the bills. All the time, back the blue. If we back the blue, back the bill. You know, there were at least 2 police chiefs here today, Chief Connor from Warwick and Chief Clements from Providence. I saw Commissioner Perry as well. The Police Chiefs Association testified in favor of these bills. If you back the blue, back the bills. We can keep Rhode Islanders safe. We can make Rhode Island safer. We can keep our residents safer. We can make our children safer. Let's get these bills done. Let's give them to the governor, have him sign them, and let's keep going. Thank you, everybody.
Next, we'll hear from General Treasurer Seth Magaziner.
Well, I don't know about all of you. I'm getting really tired of this. It's Groundhog Day. Every year, year after year, we come back to support these same bills. We go to the same hearings. We have the same press conferences, and we haven't gotten a vote. Meanwhile, the toll of dead kids continues to rise. Meanwhile, high-capacity magazines, as the AG noted, are showing up in more and more Rhode Island crime scenes. Meanwhile, you have Uvalde, AR-15, Parkland, AR-15, Newtown, AR-15, Orlando, AR-15, Las Vegas, AR-15. Do you see a pattern? Yes. Over and over and over again. But this year was different for me. I just became a new father. I have a 7-month-old baby at home. And you better believe that last week, I got home as fast as I could, and I hugged him a little harder because I knew there were 19 sets of parents in Texas who were never going to get to hug their kids again. We cannot keep letting this happen. We have to act. we have to go back to an assault weapons ban and a high-capacity magazine, which, by the way, we had for a decade nationally in the 90s and early 2000s. We are not asking for anything radical or different. We're just asking to go back to the same common sense laws that were the laws of our entire country when there were fewer mass shootings and fewer gun deaths. So, let's make this year different. Please, we need votes. We need votes. We need to make this year the year that we do everything that we can to make sure that the next Uvalde does not happen here in Rhode Island. Thank you very much, everybody, for turning out. Let's slow it down.
Thank you to all of our general officers for their steadfast support of this package of bills. And now I'd like to introduce a survivor to Diana Garlington, who is an Everytown Survivor Fellow.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am not here today to just deliver you another speech. I am here to demand action. We are in a moment where 19 children, 2 adults in Texas, 10 black men and women in New York, with one being an 86 elder. We should not have to live in fear. We should not have to wonder if we're going to live in an environment where gunshots are going to ring out. We should not be afraid to go to a grocery store. We should not be afraid to send our children to school. This can happen anywhere. This can happen in our own backyard. When our children die, we die too. Enough is enough. We demand a future free from gun violence. We don't want to continue to hear the same thoughts and prayers are with you. That does not save lives, and it does not change the laws. High-capacity magazines, assault weapons, unsecured guns, and gun violence in our communities of color underscore the urgent need for action. For one entire decade, as a gun violence survivor, mother, and advocate, I have stood up and fought to combat and curb these senseless acts of violence. It's time for the General Assembly, our senators, and all who have authority to stand up and bring these bills for a vote. We must safely protect law-abiding gun owners who have the right to defend themselves. We must protect our children and our future. If we truly value the lives of all, it's time to do something. We will not be slaughtered and left as a number. We deserve to live our lives in peace and free. So today, I'm calling to action, once again asking our General Assembly, our senators, and all who are in authority, stand up, do what's right. We can no longer sit back and wait for these laws to be passed. 19 children were slaughtered. We're not going to wait for another 19. Thank you.
close our event with the last speaker, Jennifer Boylan from Moms Demand Action.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Boylan, and I'm a volunteer leader with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. Today, we've heard from many lawmakers and elected officials. I'm so grateful to have them here by my side, fighting for better gun laws here in Rhode Island. But my perspective is first and foremost as a mother. And the Rhode Island mothers are not okay. They are crying while watching the nightly news for children in Uvalde, Texas, for the families in Buffalo, New York, hiding their tears from their children. And mothers are crying in their pillows for children of families right here in Rhode Island who have lost their lives to gun violence. Mothers of Essence T. Crystal, who is 21, Shamika Barros, who is 21, Nyasia Williams Thomas, who was 17, Stephen Latimer, 23, Dylan Beans, who was only 15, the family of Daniel O'Neill, he was 22, Jimmy Pagano, he was 44, Allison Dos Reis, she was 37, Tatiana Francois, she was 19, and the list goes on and on and on. Those are Rhode Islanders. Rhode Island fathers are not okay. Rhode Island teachers are not okay. The sense of fear and loss is in the air. It's on social media, and it's in conversations everywhere. So I have some messages for people who perversely put the right to bear arms above the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To those who say it should be harder to enter a building than to buy an AR-15, I say no. To those who say our current gun laws are enough, I say no. To those who weaponize mental illness as an excuse to forgo tougher gun laws, I say no. To those who expect teachers to be armed when their job is simply to educate, I say no. To those who feel that 18-year-olds who can't buy cigarettes, a Sudafed, or a beer should be able to buy an AR-15, I say no! And to those that feel that not having a single point of entry is why children and teachers in the Robb Elementary School were shot to death, I say no. To those who say, but Chicago, or criminals don't follow laws, I say no. To those who say we need to hold these bills for further study, I say no. 10 years. It's been 10 years. That is long enough. No more studying. It is time to vote on all 5 gun bills. All the bills. I've been doing this for far too long. I want to thank everyone for coming, and now it's time for everyone to go into the State House and let all these lawmakers who didn't join us outside today know exactly how we feel. Let's go in, let's make some noise, let's send them a message. Time for a vote. Time for a vote. Time for a vote. Time for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
and soda here.
Are they looking at it? Do they want ID or just start looking at our stuff?
The NRA. Don't take blood money.
Good to see you. How's it going? I don't have a card, but I'll email you.
Make it look good. How you doing today? Good.
Thank you.
Where do you want me?
Yeah, right here's good.
Sorry, do I have to take off my mask?
No, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah,
If you could
I'm not that comfortable taking it off in the building.
No, not a problem.
Yeah.
Just if you could project, because the sound quality here isn't great. With a mask, it's even louder.
Yeah, I know.
I'm here with Jennifer Boylan. You're in charge of Moms Demand Action here in Rhode Island.
I'm one of many leaders. I'm a volunteer leader with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America.
Great.
A whole bunch of us.
Come on in just a little closer.
Yep.
The timing of this legislation is compelling on a number of levels. You've spent a great deal of time today really focusing on the human and humanity of all of this. But at the same time, we are political beings. You're a political organization. Is it fair to say that for your organization, the passage of this legislation and individual votes represent some sort of litmus test for your members?
Well, we're nonpartisan.
On a personal level.
We have a single focus, and it's ending gun violence. And I've been volunteering for this organization for almost a decade, and passage of these bills would be significant, very significant.
What's the temperature of the room right now, as far as you're concerned?
There seems to be a lot of appetite for the bills to move. Many of these bills have been in committee for 9 years, so it's been a long time coming. They've been heard, they've been discussed, they've been debated, they've been modified, and the time is now. There's really such sadness in our country and in our state and in our communities over these senseless shootings that get so much news, and such sadness here locally with the shootings that don't get enough news. I think we're at a tipping point for our state.
Are there other areas of legislation that you're looking to do next year? Are there other issues?
I can't even tell you. I can't even talk about anything beyond this week.
Fair enough. How can folks find you on the web?
MomsDemandAction.org.
Great. And that's a Rhode Island-based organization, or
National chapters in 50 states.
Excellent.
We have 6 million supporters before the shootings of the last 2 weeks. I don't know how many we have now.
Fair enough. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Hope we talk again soon.
That's my card, so you know who I am.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Folks, we're going to take it upstairs. A little bit of cinema verite here. We're in the Rhode Island State House. Protesters supporting additional 2A legislation.
How are you? Hi.
And I am live right now. Two, please. I'm bringing my viewers a little bit of cinema verite.
It's good. Everything's live now.
This is live right now. But I'm going to put it that way. Hold it down.
I said, don't get close.
By the way, we are live right now.
Fantastic. You got me running.
Hustle.
Dude, I got all the way down there and then I forgot my citations are upstairs. Yes, exactly. We've got a Korean War veteran who's getting his medals finally after decades tomorrow. So
Oh, that's nice.
It's actually like a really
Tomorrow,
it's world, but it's really big.
Have fun. saw Ron Paul that night.
That man is a politician.
You okay? Yeah, no fun. Come on a little closer. Joining us right now is Luis Daniel Munoz. He is, of course, a progressive candidate for the Democratic nomination to be the governor of the great state of Rhode Island. What are your thoughts about participatory democracy today?
Important, ever more important, right? I mean, we have a lot of pandering, a lot of selective outrage. I think we need really comprehensive reforms, both as it relates to gun laws, but also to all the resources outside of that. Yeah. You know, one of the things that people talk about is they make it a partisan issue. One side mental health, one side gun laws. The fact is both are needed. You and I have disagreed in the past about the role of government. In this case, I certainly think that having, heavily weighted resources on mental health and having a strict process around people reporting back, even physicians ask about whether people have suicidal thoughts or are going to hurt others, and they have a duty to report that. So it's not like this isn't in our healthcare system. We can respect HIPAA and still ensure that the legislation today that hopefully is passed is met with additional resources around mental health. And look, at the end of the day, my concern is if we really want to be radical, progressives here, we can look at Australia's aggressive buyback program and put millions of dollars where they should be to give people the option to get these guns off the street. we can think about we talk about assault weapons, but people can debate the definition. My whole point is, do we really want to, in fact, get all the guns off the streets? Because I grew up in a place where there were guns on the streets. We had the Attorney General, all due respect to Peter Nerona, say that, back the blue and reinforcing AR-15s in cars is somehow the right thing to do. From my perspective, how is that true when we have students in Providence asking for SROs to be outside of school because they've been getting slammed for years, right?
Earlier this afternoon, the governor held a press conference, and the commissioner of the Rhode Island Department of Education, who supports SROs, was rather stony-faced when asked about the reaction from the community, for whom I characterize personally, not as journalists, but personally, SROs as something of an invading force. It's not a positive message to children. How do you balance that, though? I mean, you can't, in its purest form, if it's working correctly, or no, it's not, but in its working form, you've got law enforcement on site at some level. There's a level of safety there. How do you balance that with some of the other issues that have come up with SROs?
Look, my campaign manager grew up in North Kingstown, right? They have an officer in the school, that's my understanding. The culture in North Kingstown is very different than the culture in Providence. We know that in this country, poverty has been criminalized.
Right.
We also understand that the data shows that there have been more aggressive interactions with students in Providence schools by SRO than there have been protections against students that have been hurt, like William Parsons, who was killed at the perimeter area of PCTA. So if we want to protect students and we want to do so in the perimeter with infrastructure, let's do that. Let's invest more dollars. But to say that SROs or that any police force is going to protect students internal to mass shootings, well, did it protect them out in Texas? Because they stood by 78 minutes while students were being killed. And when I hear someone in the state of Rhode Island that support legislation that I also support, saying also in alignment with that we need more AR-15s and police officer vehicles, it's concerning that we're not getting the point.
Right.
The point is that these aren't muskets and pellets. That these ballistic weapons we have today, I'm not going to debate semi-automatics or not, they're just in general ballistic weapons that we have today are causing really a lot of deaths, whether it's by suicide or otherwise. So as a country, are we going to sit back and just say enough is enough? Because in Rhode Island, it seems like we're pushing legislation but not taking it a step further. If we truly want to set a precedent, you and I can disagree on the role of government, but if we want to set a precedent, let's put millions of dollars to buyback programs. When we talk about ghost guns, let's do a traceback program on the weapons that are already in inner cities and urban core neighborhoods. Putting dollars to it. And finally, look, as a nation, if we really want to be quote-unquote progressive, we either start tackling constitutions at a state level to completely ban ballistic weapons altogether, or we accept the risk. And this is my concern. The debate should be about what risks are tolerable and are not. And no one's talking about that. What risks are tolerable and which are not. Because the platitudes around school safety being 100%, when I came from a school system that the doors wouldn't even close some days, it's kind of ridiculous.
Do you worry, final question, do you worry that there's a potential that additional gun laws will be weaponized against law-abiding young people in the inner city, in the urban core, in the buyback community?
Well, someone said that someone has to be 21 to have their amygdala work well. Again, being a physician, I just think we need to make the data points we're connecting very clear. All of the performances, all of these extrapolations are really hurting, again, our course towards progress, which I believe should be data-driven. And frankly, we should understand what risk are we willing to accept, which are we not. To your question, will it take every person of color in this country coming out and saying that they want to purchase a weapon for us to finally have gun control? Based on the example the Black Panthers gave, maybe. And the question then becomes, why do we live in a country that continues to criminalize communities of color, but when it comes down to actually creating comprehensive reform across all communities, individuals, strip privilege from everyone, suddenly we have to take incremental steps.
Fair enough. Luis Añuminos, he is running. You got to give the website. Got to give you a plug.
Yeah.
Shameless self-promotion here. How can folks find out more about you?
Yeah, governor2022.com. That is the website. Also, Luis Daniel Munoz. So we have two, so that you get to the same place. You can find every social media link there. Again, I grew up in Central Falls. I'm a physician. My level of progress is here at the grassroots, ensuring that we're listening to communities and look at not just the legislation we should pass, but how to implement it. And I frankly don't think that legislation is enough when we know that the most progressive and comprehensive programs around gun reform have had millions, and in Australia, billions of dollars placed to those programs to ensure that guns are taken off the street, the mental health resources are placed into places like school systems, and at the end of the day, that we as a country determine what risk are we willing to take and what risk are we not willing to take.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you again, buddy.
Good to see you. Thanks.
Folks, I think we might be ready to shut it down for the day. Let me just go out here. We're going to try and chop this up so folks can get little bits and pieces of it. Luis Daniel Munoz, no stranger to the coalition.
Where's this? Is this over there?
I don't know.
Where are they making the bills?
Should be in there. Unless they're in, we're live right now. Unless they're in committee. If they're in committee, they'll be all over the place.
They're not in committee, right? They're not taking public comments.
There are people here working. I'm just not sure. It's, every day here it's a mixed bag. We just don't know.
So
that's the library over there. So, or that's the governor's stateroom over there. So that'll be closed. So I think you're seeing pretty much the bunt of it.
Hot outside, but I just have water.